and welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy. And tonight, not only do I have a fabulous panel, but Bernice has come to talk about a spectacular project that she's involved in. So not only is Bernice Bennett on with us tonight as a panelist, but also she's going to talk to us about her project in just a second. But let me go ahead and let you know who else is here. We've got Melissa Barker, the archive lady. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
Glad you're here. We've got Mary Kircher Roddy. Hi, Mary, from MKR Genealogy and from, say it,
Applied Genealogy
Genealogy, yeah, Institute. I always get the applied wrong. I want to say assisted. No, it's Applied Genealogy Institute, but they do assist you very well.
We will assist you in your learning. Yes.
Exactly. And Jenny Hawran, who is from Like Herding Cats Genealogy. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, glad to be here. Happy whatever day it is.
Whatever day it is. Happy GenFriends, everybody. Happy GenFriends. So Bernice, you are here with Giselle, who has come to talk to us about your road trip. It's a family health road trip, and so health history road trip. So it's very interesting that you're doing this because it's really, really important for us to know about our health history. You know, there are things that are genetic that get passed down. So tell us about this road trip and how you got involved.
Okay, well, first of all, Giselle and I would like to thank you for having us talk today about the Family Health History Road Trip that's sponsored by Anolans Pharmaceuticals. This is something that's so important. And I am not only a genealogist, but also a health educator.
Yes.
And so with that background and thinking of all the things we need to be doing, because we focus a lot on our roots. We also need to focus on our health history. And so this Family Health History Road Trip is what we will be sharing with you all today. We're focusing on a condition called HATTR amyloidosis. It's genetic, it's inherited, and how do you even start that conversation with your family about an inherited disease? And so this is why Giselle is here, because she was part of the Family Health History Road Trip, and I had an opportunity to visit with her and two other families, and they shared what they considered important and essential information that family members need to understand so that they could have what we call early detection rather than delayed treatment. And so this is the whole idea. We're here to raise awareness.
Yes.
Raise awareness, okay?
And and it is so important. It really is so important because there's things in our backgrounds we don't even know are there.
Absolutely.
That's right.
We kind of stumbled upon this condition through my father. So he got diagnosed initially in 2012. And after he went through his whole journey with it, his cardiologist called me personally, asked me to come in and get tested. So the key thing is that I got tested early and got into treatment early. So early detection is very important. So it's very important to make sure the awareness is there from one generation to the other. My dad was 82 when he passed. His mother was 98 when she passed, and my grandfather was 90.
Wow.
We are not sure where it came from, either parent. So he had a sister that passed a year before he did with similar symptoms, and she never got tested for the condition. So we are here to let people know it is important to share the information with your family so they can understand what you're going through and possibly save them from going through the same things that others have. Because if it wasn't for my father being diagnosed, I probably would still not know what was really going on with me, because I had a whole lineup of symptoms that were going on. No doctors could figure out what was going on.
I see. Right. Now, Jenny, I know that you were specifically interested in this topic tonight because of some of the things that you're finding out as you do your family history.
Yeah, so when I heard we were going to be talking about this, I was like, this needs to be talked about more because in my case, I found out several years ago that the father that raised me is not my biological father. I took a DNA test and it was a surprise to me. And so dealing with that is on one level, but then it started to occur to me, I didn't know anything about my biological father and what kind of health issues he might have had. And because I don't have contact with that family outside of the family, I still don't know everything.
Mm.
And I've had little smatterings of things. Luckily, nothing, overly, serious, but genetic, macular degeneration and, diabetes, things like that. But it really needs to be talked about more because it really I'm 59, and it really kind of scared me because I was like walking around for 59 years not knowing, why I have this symptom about something or why I have this. So I'm just so happy that you're here to bring awareness to this. It's just so important.
Absolutely. Amyloidosis is a very rare condition. So without passing on the information to make other people aware, even the doctors aren't aware of the condition at times. So that's why the road trip was created. That's why it was done. That's why we're spreading the awareness about HATTR amyloidosis across the whole country. And as some people say, across the waters, if possible. But those conversations are important. And talking with Miss Bernice, she's spreading the word not just about HATTR amyloidosis, but other issues and health issues as well, because my mom has diabetes. So it runs in the family on her side as well as my dad's side too. So of course, I've got diabetes. The genes are so strong with me and my dad. My mom's joke all the time was I was daddy's baby and mommy's maybe. Yeah, we look like fraternal twins. Everything about him you see in me. So, I wasn't surprised when I was told I was positive for the genetic variant for HATTR amyloidosis. And then I was officially diagnosed about 2 years after that. But as we have spoken over and over again, the awareness is what was important. Once Dad got diagnosed, and then I knew that was possibly what was going on with me with all my symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And, Giselle and Jenny, you both made it very clear. Family history is a risk factor. If you don't know your family health history, you are now at risk of developing something and you have no idea where it came from. And so this is why, and we'll just keep saying this over and over again, why the family health history road trip is important. Think about it. You get with your family, you talk about just about everything, right? But
Yes.
do you talk about your health history? Or as you said, Jenny, you didn't know. So this is why we're doing this. And this is why we have videos of which we have family members sharing, just as Giselle shared her family health history. We have others doing the exact same thing. And if we can walk away with one thing, the one thing to understand is knowledge is power.
Oh, absolutely.
And the more you know about your family health history, the better off you will be. Because now you have generations in your family that will be aware and, if necessary, do the next thing. And that is action. What do you do once you know? And this is where Giselle and others have shared with me what they did once they found out.
Absolutely. So I walked out the doctor's office with my positive diagnosis for HATTR. And I immediately text all my first cousins. They gave me brochures about the condition. I put them all in the mailbox to all my first cousins. And then I emailed them the actual document that was on the website about the condition. I have sent them names of doctors, hospitals that are centers of excellence for this condition. So, I want my family to be healthy as possible and not have to go through everything that I went through prior to and everything my dad went through. No treatment was approved when he got diagnosed. But I'm thanking God for my diagnosis because now I am in treatment and I've taken the steps and moved forward.
Yeah. One of the things that I learned from Giselle and from Christian and Julio and Renee when I went on the road trip is that the symptoms will vary from family members. So you may not realize that you have this inherited disorder because you're not seeing the same symptoms. But it's very important that, as you mentioned, Giselle, having literature information, you have to really have this information in front of you so that you could share with your family members, well, it is a genetic, I do have the variant, I did test. What about some of you also testing to see if you have the disease? Although some may test, have the variant, but may not actually have the disease. So, it's just important that we know as much as we can about HATTR and that you go for early diagnosis, you share that information with your family, and you make this part of your family health history road trip, just as Alan has, partnered with us to go out and share this information with everybody else.
Yes.
Absolutely. And when I see my family, they say to me, oh no, here she goes again.
Haven't we heard that, genealogist? Here they come again.
That's right. That's right.
I get them all together and we're having good time. And then I just break all the fun and say, hey, you guys, have you been tested yet? You need to get tested. But as Bernice said, the symptoms vary from person to person. I did realize that both me and my dad had bilateral carpal tunnel. And his first indication that let me know that he had a heart issue was the swelling in his ankles and his feet. So when he told me his feet were swollen, I looked down, he looked like he was standing on tree trunks. So, I have a little edema, not a whole lot, but it's a funny story. I went on a cruise years ago and my feet were swelling. So we assumed that it was the sodium in the food on the ship. And I have been on a diuretic for years because of that. And I realized that if I didn't take it, I was gaining a couple of pounds. Well, now that I've been diagnosed with HATTR amyloidosis, the cardiologist is saying to me, it's great that you've been on there because that has helped you with the cardiac part of the disease because it affects the heart, the digestive system, and the nerves. So this aspect of it has been a saving grace for me throughout all these years, just stumbling upon it because, I eat too much and I ate a lot on that cruise. So, but Dad had diarrhea where I suffer from constipation. I got vertigo and I get dizziness and so forth. Every now and then I get shortness of breath, but he complained about the shortness of breath a lot. I get bruises on my thighs. He never indicated anything like that. I noticed Dad had dark bruises under his eyes. That was an indicator of the amyloidosis. And I never had that. So it varies from person to person. Sometimes I see some of my family members and I'm thinking, that sounds like a symptom of amyloidosis. And I just keep pushing it. Go get tested. It's better to know than not know. So that health history is so important from one generation to the next generation, from one person to the next person in your family.
Exactly. Bernice, how many people did you interview on the road show? On the road show, on the road show, on the road trip?
I went to 3 families,
Uh-huh.
and Giselle out of Chicago, and then I went to Indiana to visit Christine, and then I went to Massachusetts to visit Julio and Renee. And each had a different scenario.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing sometimes is oh, Mary, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
I'm trying to figure out, was it the same condition that you were tracking, or you say a different scenario? Was it a different condition?
They ended up with the same diagnosis.
Okay.
But they presented in different ways.
Okay.
One family member I visited, it took her 8 years to get a diagnosis.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And she, after talking and comparing, discovered that she and an uncle had HATTR amyloidosis.
Yeah, it takes a long time. Go ahead, Bernice.
Yeah, it takes a long time. And the third family, interestingly enough, they saw a program on television, and it was a Portuguese program, and they were talking about it. And then they turned to the person who had these symptoms and said, "You may have this."
Oh my goodness.
Talked to the physician, got tested, and then pulled the entire family in.
Wow.
To learn about this genetic disorder.
Wow.
So you can learn about it in a lot of different ways.
Sure.
And one of the things, again, we stress, if your family health history is a risk factor, you need to know it.
Exactly. No, if they'd have known this was in the family, all of these cases, it wouldn't have taken 8 years, right? It wouldn't have taken all this time for people to get a diagnosis and get the help that they needed. So, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be nice if our forms that we fill out, our genealogy forms, had a space on there for different health issues that we know of in the family? Wouldn't that be great? So as we're passing along, they were born, they died, stories, all those kind of things. Wouldn't it be nice if those forms had something on it that also where you could mark down, anything that would be passed down through the generations?
Or even if they just had, do you have a rare disease in your family?
Yes.
Because this is a rare disease.
Yes.
It's not your traditional that you do see on the form. So if you just had a block or something that said, what about rare diseases or conditions that you're not quite sure about, or any genetic diseases?
Exactly.
Yeah, but then you would have to know that you have this rare disease.
Correct.
And that is
or that somebody in the
Right,
family
right.
had been diagnosed with it. Yeah, absolutely.
For some reason, a lot of people in the generations before us were tight-lipped. They didn't talk about the health issues at all.
This
You
is
know,
very
you had
true.
no idea. I stumbled upon an issue and I went for a procedure, and then my mother says, "Oh, that's what happened to me." And I'm like, "Okay, Mom, when were you going to tell me this?" So, and that's why we have the Bernices in the world to spread the information and tell people it is so important to talk to your family about what your health issues and concerns are, no matter what. Health issues aren't private anymore. They shouldn't be, because your family needs to know. I started symptoms back in 2002, not knowing anything about amyloidosis. Moving forward, I didn't get diagnosed until 2016.
Wow.
So I've been dealing with this for all these years, had no idea until my dad got diagnosed in 2012.
Wow. And
how long did it take your dad to get diagnosed?
Well, his diagnosis was immediately when I took him in about the feet and legs being swollen. They immediately started testing because they knew it was a heart issue. And maybe a few months later, they diagnosed him with amyloidosis, but they continued to test him to figure out what type of amyloidosis he had. It took us taking him to a second cardiologist that identified that it was HATTR amyloidosis. So there are 130 some variants of amyloidosis. So to narrow it down and figure out what he had is what the second cardiologist did. And she was a specialist, so she understood and knew what the symptoms were to look for. And she did a few tests, and that's what he was diagnosed with. So I'd say in less than a year after seeing that, no, I'm taking that back. After he saw the second cardiologist, it was like a month later where they identified it was HATTR amyloidosis.
Yeah, yeah. Bernice, I'm so glad that you're doing this and are sharing this with all of us, because it's like Jenny was saying, we all need it. Whether we've got a rare disease in our family, it doesn't matter, whatever, something is being passed down. All of us are passing things down, and we need to know what those things are to protect ourselves and to protect our children, and just be on the lookout for things when we're having symptoms. So I think that's wonderful. Yes, Jenny.
I just was curious, Bernice, how you got involved in this project, this road trip overall, and Giselle, how did you get involved with hooking up with Bernice, and how did that all? Who had the original idea to do this project?
Well, Alnylam Pharmaceuticals
Okay.
came up with the concept of the Family Health History Road Trip. They reached out to me as a health educator and a genealogist and asked if I would serve as the host for this project. And of course I said, absolutely. I definitely believe that this is something that must be done. And I just love it. You know, I just love the fact that we are sharing this information. And we have a website, hattrBridge.com/road trip, and individuals can go on the website and they can see the videos and look at me as I go on the journey and talk to different people. And also hear a physician, Dr. Malhotra, who is also talking about the disease. Also on that website, we have a family discussion guide, because we want to encourage family members to talk to each other. And talking to each other means that we are talking about coming up with a plan, getting as much facts as you can about the health condition, so that when you share this information with your family, you're sharing facts and information. You know, it's not, I think, I feel, this is what it is. These are the things we need to do. And so we encourage you, if you're going to talk to your family members, first put together an outline. You know how we have to do this, Sheri. We start doing our presentations, but it's not a presentation. It's with love and care that you're reaching out to your family members, because there's something important that you want to share with them. Keep in mind, however, you will have certain family members that will say, okay, just as we have with genealogy, here she comes again, but don't give up. Don't give up. Keep trying to get them to understand why early detection is important, why you are coming to them with love, because you don't want them to find out when it's too late. The earlier you get diagnosed, the earlier you are starting with a treatment regimen. And so this is why you, as the family member, you're reaching out to your family members. That's why it's called a Family Health History Road Trip. We want you to talk to your family members. Even if you're not around them, you have snail mail, you have email, you have text. You can do whatever you need to do to let your family know and understand that this rare disease is something that you have, and you want them to get tested.
Exactly.
Early diagnosis.
Yes.
I have a question, Bernice. You know, this is fantastic work, and I'm glad that you all are doing it. It actually harkens back to the beginnings of breast cancer to me, and how we really needed to educate women, you know, early detection and history in the family. You know, that kind of goes back to that. But you are doing this road trip with this pharmaceutical company, and I'm just wondering, are you focusing just on this disease, or do you know if the pharmaceutical company is going to talk about other diseases and preventativeness and family histories and things?
Right now, our focus is on HATTR amyloidosis. I can't tell you whether they're going to go into another disease state, but this is what our focus is right now.
Sure. Okay.
And I think primarily is because this is a rare condition and it's underdiagnosed.
Yeah.
As I spoke earlier, all the symptoms that I had throughout the years, I had no idea that it would be, well, let me go back to what I normally say. I had all of these conditions that I thought I had, and it turned out to be symptoms of amyloidosis. So if the awareness was out there years ago, I'd have been able to get my doctors to do the testing sooner, or even my doctors would have known what to test me for. You know, I was seeing a primary care physician for years who continuously referred me to different specialists throughout the years. And each specialist tests me for whatever my symptoms were, and the tests were always negative. So now all of a sudden, my dad got amyloidosis. I finally get tested, and I have HATTR amyloidosis. So I actually emailed every specialist that I had seen throughout the years to let them know about my condition so they'll be aware of it and know what to do about their future patients. Because I love my PCP. I've been seeing her for 20 some years, but she had no idea that all of these specialists she was sending me to was unnecessary. It was one specialist I needed to see, which was my cardiologist, who would have tested me for the gene variant for amyloidosis.
Right. Oh.
So really what we're saying here and what you're saying is that you were not only an advocate for your family, but you were an advocate for all those other people.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
And that's important too, because if your physician is not aware of this disease, but you have it, your action is to go and share that information with your physician.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. And you know, believe it or not, I got pushback from two of the doctors. You know, it's a patient telling a doctor what to do with what you got. So, you know, no, that's not what you have. Okay, no problem, you know. And so I moved myself on to a specialist that will handle it properly, because you got to be open to learn more about this condition and any other condition so that you can help your patients. So, you know, it's I don't know how to express myself to say that I love the fact that these platforms are spreading the awareness of this condition. It is so important. And not just this one. As you spoke, you know, I've got diabetes. You know, my mother had uteral issues that she never talked about that I had later on. Had I known, you know, I didn't have any children, but had I known about, you know, her issues, it would help prepare me if I did have children. Because I was married at one point, ladies. I just didn't have any children. But I would have had a high risk pregnancy as she did when she had me. So it's, again, it is important to talk to your family about what's going on with your health at all times.
And Giselle, you bring up a very, very good point, and you talking about your journey in that I think it's very important that we as human beings, when we go to the doctor, and you know, we know our bodies.
Right.
We do. And if we have a doctor, I don't care who they are, how educated they are, what they think they know, if they're not going to listen to us, I mean, you know, we don't know, we're not doctors either, but if they're not going to listen to us, you know, I'm always encouraging to tell people, you know, you might want to find another doctor.
Somebody
You know,
will
because because you know, you could keep going to the same doctor forever and ever, and and the diagnosis is right under their nose. They just don't know about it or not know how to treat it or whatever. So you bring up a very good point in our healthcare, that we need to take charge of our healthcare, and that we need to, if we're not getting answers, we need to find the answers.
Exactly. You got to advocate for yourself
That's
at
right.
all times, you know. Through this journey, I've gone back to school and become a certified health and wellness coach. If I can help people through their journeys to get through the process and stuff, that's what I'm here for, to help others. So Yeah, my dad was my twin, and I miss him so much. If we could have got on top of this sooner, you know, it would have helped me as well as others in the family, and might have would have saved my dad and his sister had we known about this years ago, had the doctors been aware of the condition years ago. So spreading the awareness, the family health history to not only your family, but as you said, to these doctors, these providers that aren't aware of the condition.
That's right. And Cheri, I just want to thank you again for having us on, because this is information that's going to go to the whole genealogy community.
Yes.
And you have a wonderful following, and I'm just hopeful that individuals, once they hear us talk about family health history, the family health history road trip, that they will also go on their own family health journey to talk about the health conditions. And I'm not talking about, we collect the death certificates. I'm not talking about the death certificates. I'm talking about before the death. And how we need to share that information. Just as Giselle said, mother had something and she didn't know it. I can say the same thing. My mother had something, I didn't know it. Why didn't I know it? And why don't we know it? Because we don't talk about it. But that's why we need to make the family health history a part of our genealogical journey and have people talk. We have to talk to each other and serve as our own advocates, as Giselle has done with her family and with the physicians and with the other people she's counseling. But that's what we're all about. And so I just want to thank you so much. And again, encourage folks to go to our website, hattrbridge.com/road trip, so that you could see us on this journey, see me on the journey, meeting with the different family members. And also you can download the family discussion guide. It will help you at least come up with your roadmap as to how you're going to organize information to share with your family.
Well, Bernice, we are so grateful that y'all came and shared this with us tonight. They couldn't have picked a better host than you, Bernice, to go on this.
Thank you.
On this road trip. So I'm glad that you were contacted and you were able to do this. And thank you for coming and talking to us and sharing how important it is to be able to educate yourself, know what's happening in your family, share the things that you're finding. So with that, I thank this wonderful panel for coming to. Giselle, it was so wonderful to meet you. Thanks for coming and sharing your story. Bernice, thank you for coming and playing double duty tonight. Our panelist and our guest. Absolutely. And all the links will be in the YouTube video and on the blog post. And feel free to ask any questions. And any questions you may ask, we'll make sure to get back to Giselle and to Bernice. And so with that, we will see you next time on GenFriends. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.